Hi Capricorn, welcome to your July 2020 Astrology 33 reading. Thank you to those of you who have liked, viewed, shared, subscribed, and donated to the channel. I appreciate all of that. For those of you interested in booking a personal reading with me, please check out the description video for more details there. As far as what's in front of us, it's a Celtic cross spread as always, and I also pulled a couple of Oracle cards for you guys and a Mudra card. So getting started with the main spread first. In the main situation, we have the Star. This is actually the major arcana card that represents Aquarius, which is your second house. And your ruler has been there for a while. It's actually going to be coming back into your sign in July. But what this can represent more than just, for some of you this can be financial growth, but for a lot of you I feel like this is just saying that you guys might have hit some bumps in the road recently and you're actually learning from them. And it's actually been a bit of a course correction for you guys. Now, I do have to say, though, that some of you may not have gone through it yet. So that's the thing that I'm feeling, is that if you haven't gone through it yet, it will be coming soon, because in the challenger obstacle position, we have the Tower. So, these are pretty much a natural progression of each other. You have the Tower, which is 16 in the major arcana, then you have the Star, which is 17. So usually the Tower is that event that kind of jolts us and kind of gives us a reality check in a way. Not to sound harsh, but, it really does end up being one of those pivotal moments where you realize that something that you thought was stable and the end-all be-all might not be quite what you thought it was, and then that actually gets you right back on the correct path. So for some of you, with these two cards showing up together in this part of the spread, it could be saying that some of you may have already gone through this, and you're already on that path. But for others of you, it's saying that if you haven't felt that sense of growth yet and that course correction, it may be coming your way soon. And as far as a timeline goes, I would say be most likely when you guys do have that full moon eclipse in your sign, which will be around the 4th or 5th of July, depending on where you live. That'll be the final eclipse on the Cancer Capricorn axis too, for about 9 years or so. So there's definitely some significance to that too. So, keep that in mind for those of you who have gone through a Tower moment already. Keep in mind that karmically it was meant to happen that way, and it will actually serve your purpose in a positive way in the long run. And for those of you who might experience it this month, again, same theme. Keep in mind that it actually was meant to unfold in the way that it did. In the foundation position, we have the Magician and the Seven of Wands. So what stands out to me here, seeing these two cards come out together, I have to say that it could just be pointing to the fact that whether you guys realize it or not, you may have actually manifested this dynamic. So like I said, whether you've gone through the Tower moment or not, you may have already, put that wheel into motion. And with the Seven of Wands showing up here, I have a feeling that if that's the case, it's probably something that you've subconsciously have known needed to take place, but you just may have been putting it off for a while with that Seven of Wands showing up in a foundation position. And this can be something pretty deep for a lot of you too, because Leo energy, well, this card represents Leo, I should say, and for you guys, Leo energy is your 8th house. So it could be some deep things that you might have held on to for a long time, possibly going back as far as 9, maybe even 18 years for some of you. In the past position, we have the Hermit, the Chariot, Page of Wands, and the World. So, in case you guys haven't noticed, you have a ton of major arcana cards in this spread. There's still more to come as we talk about them, but this to me just points to more than anything, this is a very karmic cycle that you guys are going through. And again, like I said, at first I'm laying the cards out, I'm like, wow, this is kind of heavy. But then when I realize, well, you guys are going to be having that final eclipse on your axis in your sign, then yes, it makes a lot more sense in that regard. But there's a couple ways I could see these energies playing out. This is the major arcana card for Virgo, so could just be saying that you've been looking at things from a higher perspective, and possibly around relationships for some of you, given that the Chariot represents Cancer, which is your opposite sign. For others of you, this can actually represent possibly travel as well. But it looks like, you might have had to take a risk, put yourselves out there in some way, and in the process, you actually did learn from it with the World showing up here. So one way I could see this playing out, for example, just as a generic example, let's say that you guys went away to school, right? Given that the Hermit represents the ninth house, which often can point to higher education and travel. So let's say you went away to school, you might have graduated recently, and now you're out there in the world, right? With that Page of Wands energy, maybe going out for your first job, for example, after getting your degree, and then we see the completion there, right? So that's just a generic way of the way these energies could be playing out. In the present position, we have the High Priestess. So again, I'm getting that theme again where I feel like you guys subconsciously know that all of this should be taking place. It's something that you just might have been trying to put off for a while. The good thing with this energy, though, is what I always point out with the High Priestess, it looks like she has her foot on that moon symbol, and to me that represents having a firm grasp over your emotions, being well aware of them, having them on display even, but at the same time not letting them get control of you. So I feel like you're very measured right now, maybe keeping yourself a bit as well, maybe just integrating what you have gone through recently. And this is actually Pisces energy. So on the one hand, you guys have Mars moving through there. It's going to be moving into Aries in July. So it could be partially that, as far as that was moving through your house of communication. But I could see this also pointing to the full moon you guys had in your 12th house recently in the sign of Sagittarius. So it could be an indicator of that as well, as far as when that shift may have started for you guys. In the near future position, we have the Hierophant and the Queen of Wands. So, interesting energies here. This is actually the major arcana card for Taurus, which is your 5th house of romance, creativity, children, and then Queen of Wands representing Aries energy, which is your 4th house of home and family. So, with these two coming up together, I could see this as saying that maybe now you guys are actually, in a generic sense, maybe this is saying that you guys want a more traditional relationship. And maybe you might have even had one in the past, but maybe you might have decided to break that relationship up. For example, maybe you had some career pursuits in mind. Maybe you moved away to go to school, for example. These are just some ways that it could play out. And maybe now you're coming back to that realization that maybe you do want to get back into that type of connection. And this could be you considering taking action toward that. That's one way it could play out, especially given the fact that, like I was saying, we're going to have Mars moving through the sign of Aries. So for some of you, could represent moving back home or moving back towards someone you're familiar with from your past. In the position of your influence on the situation, we have the Three of Wands. So this is more Aries energy here. So I feel like this, for some of you, you could have that urge to do it, but you're not quite there yet. You might have even possibly sent a message out to someone, made a suggestion, or maybe just tried to, test the waters a little bit to see, okay, well, would this person be receptive to me coming back around, so it could be one of those situations there. But I do see you in a bit of a waiting energy right now. So I do have that feeling that underneath it all, you know what you want, but it's just a matter of you may have, given a slight hint towards that, but haven't really made the full move toward it yet. Maybe, like I said, just trying to feel the environment out. Or this could just be saying that you're still considering whether or not to make the move. In the environment position, we have the King of Wands, Judgment, the Ace of Cups, and the Eight of Swords. So for a lot of you, I feel like this definitely can be around relationships. Possibly some of you could be dealing with a fire sign. Now keep in mind, this could also just point to the strength of the connection too, because we see the Queen of Wands there. And if we put the cards back in the spread, the Queen is kind of looking right at the King, and they're both the same suit. So there's definitely some significance there. So this does seem to be a significant connection within your sphere. But for some of you, this could represent your energy as well. So let's say it does represent your energy. Like I was saying, oh, okay, I realize now that I want something more traditional, right? So again, you have those feelings coming back around from the past, maybe trying to rekindle that situation. But at the same time, there's still a little bit of nervousness around it. Or another way this could play out is if this is representing you reaching out to someone else and this is their energy, we do see that they're looking right at it. Okay, this is what Capricorn suggested to me, right? They want to go back to the way things were, for example. They want a fresh start. But then there's that lack of movement on their part just yet. They're not quite there. They might not know how to react to it, especially if you guys, might have been separated for a while. So it might just catch them off guard. So I do see there's definitely some interest and some consideration on their part, but it just might have thrown them for a loop too. And keep in mind, you guys are going to have that Mercury retrograde in your opposite sign for a decent part of July. So, and then it's, probably only going to get out of shadow towards the end of the month. So it could just be one of those things where it might take a little time for that all to process. In the hopes or fears position, we have the King of Swords. So really the way I feel this energy coming across for you guys is this is a hope, as far as I feel like you're hoping to actually detach from the emotions. Because again, it looks like there's a lot, obviously, that's gone on, a lot of heavy energy. And I feel like you are growing from it, but I feel like you're really trying to detach yourself from all that and really make sure that you're making the best decision from a logical standpoint. And obviously we could see where those energies could clash if you're being led by a lot of intuition and emotion, but then you're trying to detach yourself from that. That could cause a clash in energies there, but I don't necessarily see it as too big of a deal. I don't think it's necessarily a negative. It's just that you're really trying to ground yourself a little bit and really see what the best move would be. And in the outcome position, we have the Death card, Page of Cups, and the Ace of Wands. So ultimately, I do see this as you finally will decide to make that move. I feel like this is saying that you're going to finally throw caution to the wind eventually and move forward toward this person. It might not be the most, smooth and organized offer, because with the Page of Cups, there is that sincerity there. But what I always point out is, there's a fish in a cup. So to me, that represents an offer that might not have been thought out too much, right? It could be a bit spontaneous and sincere, but at the same time, it's could be a bit off and might throw the person off a little bit as well. But with the Ace of Wands, I do see that there will be that desire to actually have that fresh start there. So try to see if anything else comes to mind with this. Well, timeline wise, I would say this is probably going to be towards the end of July, because the Death card representing the 8th house, and for you guys, your 8th house is Leo, and of course towards the end of July, Leo season will start. So that's what I'm seeing there. And right before we actually officially get into Leo season, there's going to be a second new moon in Cancer, which is kind of rare, which is your 7th house. So definitely seeing around that time. So let's say, give or take a few days on either side, let's say between the 20th to 25th, maybe. Just to, somewhere in that window, I feel like that's when that would take place. But again, could vary a little bit for you guys. At the bottom of the deck, we have the Knight of Wands. So again, that points that movement, that travel, and like I was saying for you guys, given that, well, this is Sagittarius energy, and given that that's your 12th house, this could just be pointing to wheels that were set in motion when we had that full moon eclipse in Sagittarius recently. All right, moving on to the oracle cards. First, we have Breathed. There's the artwork, and the number is 29. Okay, it says patience, waiting, going slowly, wellness, meditation, trust. The oracle's message: patience in all things is called for right now. What do you need to do when you're in a rush? Slow down, of course. Meditate and trust. Breathe and repeat. Humans cannot exist without drawing breath. Now is the time to allow the life-giving element of air to replenish your body, your being, and your very essence. Stop to smell the roses, breathe in the sunlight, and release the darkness, and miracles will appear. So definitely a pretty good message there. And then maybe that could even be what the tower moment could be for some of you. If you really have been pushing yourselves too hard of late, could just be saying that could be one of those moments that kind of knocks you out of that a little bit. So you actually are forced to slow down some. All right, the relationship message says don't be in too much of a hurry right now. The heart needs time to open. Take a breath and let nature take its course. Release constriction and anxiety, for there is no need for tension. Savor the moment, and the waiting won't prove difficult. Your heart knows what the ego often resists learning. Patience pays off in deep and meaningful ways. So, with that in particular, the part where it says your heart knows what the ego often resists learning, I could see that playing out with that star and tower energy that we were talking about. So, like I said, it feels like whatever the situation is, for a lot of you, I did think it was a relationship, but it could be a lot bigger than that. But like I said, I feel like this is something you guys have been putting off for a while subconsciously, and now you're finally getting there. All right, the prosperity message says you have worked long and hard, your dreams are coming to fruition, and you want to hurry things along. You are the slow one moving languidly, yet still progressing right now in a rhythm dictated by your authentic nature, the essence of your dream, and the will of the universe. Slow and steady wins the race. You will indeed win if you relax, stay the course, trust your intuition, and breathe. So definitely an interesting message there too, and that actually makes me think a bit of that Hierophant and Queen of Wands energy, where it could just be saying that, even if underneath it all you want to kind of rush in with that Queen of Wands energy, that fiery Aries energy, the energies at play could be telling you to try to slow yourself down and take, a more measured approach and pace. And that makes sense too, like I said, given the retrograde energy that we'll be dealing with. All right, moving on to the next card. We have Swan Spirit. It says time for a deep dive. There's the artwork and the number 60. So, immediately that makes me think of the Star and the High Priestess energy. Well, even the Hierophant too. So, if that's the energy you're in, it looks like that's definitely advised for this month anyway. But let's see what the card says. It says, with their graceful, long necks, swans are able to reach into the depths. When Swan Spirit arrives, you are called to take a deep dive beyond what is easily available on the surface. You may think you know what is best for you now, but take the plunge into the depths of your awareness, for there is knowledge you are not aware of and great treasure to discover. Deeper understanding awaits you, and a perspective that comes from greater self-knowledge is what you need right now to better understand a situation or relationship. As you come to know yourself more intimately, so too will you come to better know others. So Swan Spirit asks you to go beyond the surface of what is happening between you and others and resist the temptation to judge by superficial appearances. Know there is much deeper potential for loving connections, forgiveness, and mutual understanding. Choose to dive deep into your why. Asking the deeper question of yourself, you are led by the grace of Swan Spirit. So definitely a pretty good message there as far as, looking at your motives a little bit deeper. Like I said, it looks like there's definitely a lot of energy here that is karmic in nature. Especially if you look at your card, just being the Three of Wands, it's a minor arcana card, and then there's so much major arcana around you. And like I said, given that there will be that eclipse in your sign, the last one in your sign for 9 years or so, kind of makes sense in that regard that there'd be that culmination period taking place. But hopefully all that resonated for you guys. Oh, actually, I almost got, we have your Mudra card too. The Mudra you guys got for this month is the Hridaya Mudra, and the keyword for it is tranquility. Again, seems to go with the theme of the reading as well, so that's cool. But there's the info on it if you want to pause it or take a screenshot to see what it has to say. But under benefits, it says rejuvenates the heart and pericardium, releases accumulated stress and emotions, regulates blood pressure and heart rate, reduces anxiety, opens Anahata chakra, the heart center. So if that sounds like something you think would be beneficial for you guys, I will put the name of the mudra in the description as always. We'll wrap up there, and I'll see you guys next month. All right, bye.